Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be covering the previous God of Boss Killing, Mana Miner Ascendant. So a lot of people have been saying this build is dead. Of course, it's a bit of a question, it's up in the air. Is it dead? Did the changes destroy it? Well, we're going to answer that question in today's video. So if you guys didn't know, Mana Miner Ascendant was one of the hottest builds last league. Everyone was flocking to it as it was a boss killing league, and it absolutely smashes all content in the game without basically even breaking a sweat. You can tank Shaper Slams, you can one-shot most of the bosses, you can move pretty damn quick, and you also have the option to map fairly reasonably fast as well, making it a super flexible character that, really does specialize in doing like the feed, guardians, and all sorts of stuff like that really, really fast. So, obviously this build took a pretty big hit on the patch notes. Or did it? Well, let's cover it. So first up, invitation rotations were nerfed. So the main purpose of this character was to do stuff like 6-man feed, all of that stuff like that. Basically, you would go through with a full party, killing Shaper with Maven witnessing it, and then you'd all do the feed invite and you'd make bank as the boss killer. Well, that's not really a thing anymore. So what is this character going to be used for now? Well, it'll be used for pretty much the most comfortable speed farm of any boss content you want in the game. So while they did nerf the top end earning potential of the character, it's still a super comfy pick, and I would highly recommend it to anyone looking to slay some bosses. If you want to absolutely face roll the game and all the bosses in the game, this is the build for you. Alright. Berserk was pretty much, for all intents and purposes, removed for Mana Miner. You're not going to be using Berserk anymore, so you're going to take a pretty big burst damage hit, you're going to take a pretty big survivability hit, and also mobility hit. But in return, you also do get a little bit of more points to spend, you also do get a little bit more in the terms of the mana sustain, and that's going to come into effect later on and be pretty important. So, moving on. They added a mana cost to mines. This is actually the most impactful change that was on the patch notes, and it's why a lot of people thought the build was dead. So if you guys didn't know, the more mana you spend with Indigon, the higher cost of your abilities it'll end up being a result. So the more you spend, the more they cost, which means you spend more, which means they cost more, etc, etc. Now, the thing with Mana Miner Ascendant is that you spend like 8,000 mana all pretty much in one go when you use Arcane Cloak. And the whole premise of the build was to cheese the Indigon mana requirement by having a zero cost skill, which was Mines. So you can spend all that mana, have massive mana cost, and then have no effect on your skill and still spam it. Now, they added a mana cost to Mines, so that should no longer be possible, right? Right? Wrong. You still actually can spam your skills like nobody's business, even right after using Arcane Cloak. There is pretty much no change. You can completely sustain your mines with everything up and all sorts of stuff like that. There is absolutely no issue. And the fact that you're not running Berserk means you have a ton of mana regeneration now to play with, and you can actually, supplement your mana regeneration with that. And, it's actually pretty good, and you don't have to worry about it too much. Basically, it plays exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is that you no longer have access to Berserk. That's the only thing that's changed. But everything else is completely the same. So this massive, all-powerful build that we had last league is pretty much unnerfed, and people aren't talking about it. So if you're looking for a boss killer, this is your boss killer. It's so powerful still, and it's basically going to face roll everything. You can see I'm just standing in a Shaper Beam for like so long there. You can tank Shaper Slams, as I mentioned. It's crazy. So what about the Harvest nerfs though? Because this character has Harvest gear. We need to go into what that looks like. Are we going to be able to make any of the gear that this character has? Is that even possible? Without Harvest, how are we going to possibly get to those gear levels? Well, I have some pretty good news for you. Pretty much all of the gear of this character is most part unique. Indigon, unique. Click of Defiance is unique. All these pieces are unique. The only things which aren't unique are for example, ring. But that is a pretty obtainable ring. Well, not this ring specifically, but you basically just need big life and resistances. That's it. And if you can get it, a mana roll. That's pretty much all you need on your ring. Anything like that is fine. Next up, the weapons. Way more hard to get. You're probably not going to get something quite like this anymore, but that's okay. I've played the character with weapons which aren't like this, and it's actually completely fine. You can do all content just on a mana roll and a crit roll. That's pretty much it. That's all you need. Mana and crit. You know, you could go for +1 if you wanted, but it's definitely not necessary. And you can actually probably achieve something fairly similar with the new Betrayal Unveils with Aisling. So it's actually not too bad. It's not the end of the world. You can craft really, really good weapons. And, you know, I think that it's going to be just fine. And that's pretty much, the belt is the only other one. I'm pretty sure the belt should be reasonably doable. The main things you need on here is, of course, the reduced flash charges and the mana recovery rate. Those are the only two things that matter. Of course, I believe they are both Redeemer, I think. Oh, actually, one of them is not. So I'm imagining you can probably get this with enough trial and error. Obviously, if you have life on there, great. If you can get the mana on there, great. But if you can't, it's not the end of the world. So those are the only rares, and they're probably doable or available right now on trade, meaning this build is doable right now in pretty much the exact power level I have it here. Obviously a little bit less on the damage side, and you do need to figure out how to make that belt. But this build is so damn good, and it is really, really on the table for everybody right now, and I don't see why more people aren't talking about it, so that's why I made this video. It's really, really good build, highly recommend it. Tons of other people are already doing it. There's plenty of people to check out. And you can go ahead and you can just basically yoink what some of their gear setups are. You know, this guy's got pretty much, you know, the belt we were looking for here. He's got cooldown recovery rate, I'm assuming, for Arcane Cloak. So yeah, it's all on the table, guys. I would highly recommend trying out the build if you want a boss killer, which also can do some maps. Well, that said, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.